what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the End Zone Report. As always, I'm your host, Chris, and today we're going to tackle the NFL once more. We've got some weekly reactions, some big injuries that happened this past week. We'll also go over the glorious Chase-O-meter, not looking so hot for one of the sides of that bet. And then we'll dive into some fantasy corner with heroes and villains once more. And then we'll get into week 3 game picks and then finish the episode off with a massive bet that I will be hopefully hitting on this weekend. A couple of reminders at the top of the episode. You can watch the show every week at youtube.com/TheEndZoneReport. You can also listen to the audio version on Spotify. Feel free to follow the show on X, Facebook, and Instagram. I post a lot of artwork from the episode and other updates such as injuries, trades, and contract signings with the players in the NFL and any other news or notes that I come up with as well. I make a lot of artwork for the social media pages. I post the newest edition, the End Zone Highlights, which I will pick 3 players from the week to kind of highlight all their touchdown that they made. This past week, I did Josh Allen, J.J. McCarthy, and Aaron Rodgers. This week, I will be coming out with 3 new names from week 2, and then I'll be doing that every week. So check out the End Zone Highlights on Facebook, Instagram, and X for all those really cool touchdown moments from the week prior. Let's head over to the weekly reaction. We have some massive, massive injuries to talk about today. All right, first up, I'm going to go through the major injuries that happened during week 2. We got Khalil Mack injuring his arm on Monday night against the Raiders. Kyle Juszczyk suffered a concussion this past week. They will be monitoring that for sure. Alex Highsmith suffered an ankle injury. And then Jaden Reed just did surgery. He suffered a collarbone fracture as well as a fracture in the foot. He underwent successful surgery on both the collarbone and the foot injury. He's looking at a 6 to 8 week recovery time. So Green Bay will be missing their top wide receiver. Aaron Jones suffered a hamstring injury Sunday night against the Falcons. He has now been ruled out for week 3. He's probably going to be out anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks with that hamstring injury. And then, of course, with that hamstring, it's going to linger all year, unfortunately. So we'll have to monitor him. Jordan Mason will be the running back 1 going forward. Josh Allen seems to be fine now, but he did suffer a broken nose mid-game. If you saw that game, he went to the sideline for a few moments to control the bleeding. And then after the game, in the press conference, they did confirm that he did suffer a broken nose. But he should be fine to go for week 3. One of the big ones is Jaden Daniels suffered a knee injury on Thursday night against the Packers. They will be monitoring him day to day. He has not been ruled out yet for week 3, but there is a possibility that he does not play. I believe Marcus Mariota would be getting the start if he were to be ruled out in week 3. Justin Fields, just before we started recording this, has been ruled out for week 3. He suffered a concussion this past Sunday. And then J.J. McCarthy has also been ruled out. He will be missing about 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury that he suffered on Sunday night against the Falcons. Carson Wentz will be getting the start on Sunday against the Bengals. And then speaking of the Bengals, the big one, my sweet, sweet boy Joe Burrow tore some ligaments in his toe. It is being marked as a grade 3 turf toe injury. He will undergo surgery and be out a minimum of 3 months. So if he is lucky, he's looking at a late December return. Hopefully, he just takes his time and is ready to go next year. But this is looking like a season-ending injury, potentially. They put him on IR just to cover their bases, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's far more than 3 months in recovery. So get to better Joe Burrow. looking at the storylines that happened this past week. You had some crazy stuff happen. Again, I'll go through 5 of the top storylines that happened in week 2. The first one, we got our first overtime game of the season. This was against the Giants and the Cowboys. Russell Wilson was just slinging it. He had that huge bomb touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson. He had a big one to Malik Neighbors as well. And then Dak even showed up. He was throwing some bombs to Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. But this game got pretty crazy in the fourth quarter. At least the first half was looking pretty, your typical big defensive battle, division rivals. But then once the end of the third into the fourth quarter, the offenses just started to heat up. Russell Wilson was cooking once again. Dak Prescott was answering those big plays with his own big plays with Pickens. And then we got into overtime. The Cowboys did end up winning with a awesome kick from Brandon Aubrey. So that was a really, really awesome thing to see, the first overtime game of the season. I'm pretty sure we're going to get more of these overtime games in the coming weeks. Number 4, this is how exactly I wrote in my notes. Daniel Jones is him. Daniel Jones is like the hottest, not just quarterback, but player in the NFL right now. There's already talk that the Indianapolis Colts will be going to the Super Bowl and even winning. He's setting records that haven't been broken since Peyton Manning was with the team in the early 2000s. Daniel Jones is just cooking with this Shane Steichen offense, and the team and the state of Indiana just absolutely love him. He's looking really good in this system. He's firing to, Michael Pittman. He's utilizing Tyler Warren, the rookie. Jonathan Taylor is getting opportunities to make big plays when able to. The defense has even looked really good. They shut down Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. And that game, controversy aside with the kick at the end of the game, Daniel Jones and the Colts look really good. There's potentially a chance that the Colts and the Broncos are this year's AFC Championship, which would be really interesting to get past Buffalo and Baltimore. But there is a possibility that Daniel Jones takes Indianapolis to the promised land, which is very exciting considering his kind of downfall with the New York Giants a few, year or two ago. I can't remember my timeline exactly when he left, but Daniel Jones has been a surprise hit for the NFL and fantasy, which is really, really cool. So Daniel Jones is him as of 2 weeks into the season. We will see what he can bring to the table in week 3. Number 3 on the list is Packers are the number 1 team in the NFC right now. The defense is incredible. The offense is just potent. Now, they did lose Jaden Reed, but I think they'll be fine. They got the rookie Matthew Golden. They got Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks. Tucker Kraft has been a tight end sensation, especially after his monster performance against the Commanders on Thursday night. And Jordan Love is like one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league right now. So I think the Packers are set for success in taking the number 1 seed in the NFC and making a Super Bowl run. There's a reality that they make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC side of the league. So that's really exciting for Packers fans, even though I am not a huge Packer fan. I do appreciate all the work that Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and that whole entire team has done, kind of revitalizing that organization since the departure of Aaron Rodgers. So that is really exciting for that organization to be the number 1 team in the NFC, maybe even the number 1 team in the NFL. You still have Philly. The Colts are making a name for themselves. I know a lot of people are backing Bo Nix and the Broncos. But definitely the Packers are number 1 in the NFC, unfortunately. But that is exciting to see somebody other than the Eagles. So we'll monitor the Packers very, very closely on how they go through this year for sure. Number 2, as a Bronco fan, this makes me very happy. Kansas City Chiefs now start the season at 0-2. They have never done that since, I believe, Patrick Mahomes' first year with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know a lot of Chiefs fans are really blaming Mahomes himself. They're blaming Travis Kelce. But it's a mixture of all these injuries and suspensions and just some bad luck. They had the opportunity to beat the Chargers on Friday night in Week 1. They fell short. They had an opportunity to beat the Eagles this past week on Sunday. They fell short. But they have an easy matchup with the Giants. If they lose to the Giants, I mean, this is the Russell Wilson Giants we're talking about. If they lose to the Giants on Sunday night, this is going to be a real big red alert for Kansas City. They might have to make some drastic moves on offense. I know there's already been rumors circulating about, Tyreek Hill coming back with the Rashee Rice suspension, with the Xavier Worthy injury. They're really hurting at weapons for Patrick Mahomes. Hollywood Brown has really stepped up. Juju Smith-Schuster has had chances, and he had some spurts here or there. Kelsey seems to be involved, but not really at the peak of his power. So it's really Mahomes taking charge. The backfield is a mess. Kareem Hunt seems to be out working Isaiah Pacheco, which is crazy, even though Pacheco is, I think, technically the running back 1 on the roster. Kareem Hunt is being more efficient with his opportunities and possibly taking over that role from Pacheco. So Mahomes has been the leading rusher on the Kansas City Chiefs, which is insane. But when you have an offense like that, Mahomes is going to have to just take matters into his own hands, and this is where they're sitting at 0-2. So they're going to have to make a big splash in the trade market if they end up losing to the Giants. I mean, their schedule coming up is not looking great. Let me see if I can pull up their schedule here real quick. So they have the Giants this week on Sunday night. Then they have the Ravens on week 4. I mean, I'm projecting the Ravens beating them that game. So they'll be going 1-3 potentially if they do end up beating the Chiefs. I mean the Giants. Sorry. Then week 5 they've got the Jaguars on Monday night. That should be an easy win for them. But the Jaguars have kind of been a sneaky team in the AFC the last couple years. And then they got the Lions in week 6. This looks like the Sunday night game, so that's a potential game that they could lose. So I could easily see them going 2-4, 1-5 if they don't get their act together. So it's really starting to look like red alert for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is crazy to see in the Mahomes era of the Chiefs. So we'll be monitoring that as well. And then number 1 is the Joe Burrow injury. For those that don't know kind of the backstory behind it, I am a huge Joe Burrow fan. I'm rocking the jersey and the hat today. I took him in probably 85 to 90% of my fantasy leagues. So this injury really just tanked my fantasy season and kind of my NFL season. But I'm going to try to, find the silver lining in all of it. Still going to enjoy watching football every week, even though Joe Burrow won't be out there slinging it to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But we'll see what Jake Browning can do. He's been a really good, decent backup for Joe Burrow in the past. Joe Burrow has been dealing with injuries almost every year since he's been in the league. I believe he's taken, 201 sacks since coming into the league. And I blame the offensive line. I don't blame Joe Burrow. I don't blame Zach Taylor. I blame them not beefing up this offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. And that is the root cause of this. I know he probably could have taken better care of himself, not looking to get hit. But at the end of the day, this falls on that weak offensive line. And they need to do something drastically if they're going to preserve Jake Browning for this whole season. And then Joe Burrow in the future, because they do invested a lot of money into Joe Burrow. So they need to start investing in that offensive line. So we'll see what that organization does in the future. But for right now, Jake Browning, will take the reins for Cincinnati for the future time of the season. Joe Burrow looking at 12 to 14 weeks. So that would put him right at week 15, week 16, towards the end of the season if they do. My guess is they'll just monitor it, every so often. So if we come, Thanksgiving time, early as December, If he's not ready, I wouldn't be surprised if they just rule him out for the season. If he is, ahead of schedule, he's making progress by December, he could potentially start at that lower end of the recovery time. So that would put him at week 14. But I think they are going to need to be very, very careful with the recovery and the progression of him getting back after the surgery, and then preserving him in the future with that offensive line. So we will monitor the Browns. The Bengals, they will be playing Minnesota in Minnesota. I will be at that game this weekend. So we will see how Jake Browning does against that Minnesota defense. Michael Penix was able to carve that Minnesota defense up this past week on Sunday night. So we'll see what Browning and the Bengals can do against Minnesota. So one more thing we got to do for the Week 2 reaction, and that is the glorious Chase-O-Meter. Just a reminder with this bet, this is a bet about the outcome of Chase Brown's running back ranking between my boy James Martins and fellow fantasy nuthead Megan, the Gridiron Goddess. Looking at his stats for Week 2, fantasy point-wise, he did 8.5 points. He rushed for 47 yards and 18 receiving yards with 0 touchdowns, which puts his current RB ranking at 24. I believe previously last week he was at 21, so he is slipping. We will see what he does against this Minnesota rush defense coming up on Sunday. I will be there live, like I said, so I will be watching the Chase-O-Meter as it is happening. And I'm curious to see what his stats will be, if he'll bounce back in Week 3, or if it's going to take some time for him to get reacclimated into this Jake Browning centered offense. So not looking good for Megan, the Gridiron Goddess, but it is a long season ahead of us. We are only in Week 2, coming up on Week 3. So there's plenty of time for Chase Brown to sneak into the top 10 of running backs. So we will monitor that every single week on the show. That does it for the Week 2 reactions. Let's over to Fantasy Corner for our weekly hero and villain. So every week on the show, during Fantasy Corner, we'll be announcing the Hero of the Week and the Villain of the Week. The Hero of the Week is a player that pretty much saved or secured your win in your fantasy leagues. And then the Villain of the Week, of course, would be one that basically caused you to lose your matchup or just didn't really help you at all. So our Hero of the Week for Week 2 is Jared Goff, quarterback of the Detroit Lions. His fantasy points this week, depending on what platform you use, I am using Sleeper's points. He was at 43.7 fantasy points this week on the Sleeper app. He had 23 completions for 334 passing yards. He had a rush or two for 6 rushing yards with a total of 5 touchdowns. So he was a massive, massive play if you ended up starting Jared Goff in Week 2 in your lineup. So congratulations to him for being Week 2's Hero of the Week. Switching over, we have the Villain of the Week, and that is unfortunately Mr. Drake London, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons. On the Sleeper app, he had 5.9 fantasy points. Looking at his stats, he had a fumble loss. Depending on your point system, he had a -2 points. He had 3 catches for 49 yards and 0 touchdowns. So if you're hoping for a Sunday night miracle in your fantasy lineup, Drake London was not a factor in that. He probably caused you to lose your fantasy lineup because you more than likely started him. He is a start every week type of player, no matter who he is facing. And unfortunately, he went up against this Minnesota defense. And that game was kind of defense heavy. For Atlanta, there was all kicks. There was no touchdown scored in that game. So it's just kind of an unfortunate matchup of the week. So our Villain of the Week for Week 2 is Drake London, unfortunately. So tune in next week for Week 3's Hero and Villain. Let's get to the Week 3 game slate with the game picks. All right, we got some interesting matchups for Week 3 coming up. Thursday night on Amazon, we've got the Miami Dolphins taking on division rivals of Buffalo Bills. Looks like the Bills are 85% win favorites in this matchup in Buffalo. Not surprising. Buffalo is 2-0. Miami has yet to win a game this year. Tua is looking pretty bad. He looked a lot better last week against New England. Tyreek seems to be pretty fed up with this team. So Jalen Waddle has kind of stepped in as the main target for Tua. Devon Achane hasn't really been a factor a whole lot. This is all going to come down to which version of Tua we get. Do we get the Tua, that throws 350 yards, maybe an interception and a couple touchdowns, or do we get the Tua that only throws for like 130 yards with multiple interceptions and maybe one touchdown sneaked in there? But yeah, this is all going to depend on which Tua we get. Buffalo's defense is pretty tough, especially against rivals. But then again, it is a division game, so Miami's defense is going to be extra motivated to take down Josh Allen. But yeah, I think Josh Allen's going to have a really good game this week again. I can see him rushing a lot, making big plays, hopefully stretching the ball downfield to Keenan Coleman or maybe Khalil Shakir get some action. And then we're probably going to get a lot of James Cook as well, because I expect Buffalo to be up in this game pretty early on. So fire up your James Cook stocks. You can probably guess, by the way, I am talking about this game. I am picking the Buffalo Bills to win this game on Thursday night. So that is the game for Thursday this week on Amazon. Switching over to the Sunday slate, we'll go through the noon games and then into the afternoon games. First up, we've got Atlanta Falcons taking on the Carolina Panthers. Looks like Atlanta is 67% win favorites in this matchup. Carolina is yet to win a game, and Atlanta is sitting at 1-1 after their defeat of the Minnesota Vikings last week. So maybe I could see Jake London. He was the villain of the week. He could be bounced back. This Carolina defense is horrendous. Michael Penix should be able to have a decent game with, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney back into play. Maybe even mix in some Ray as well to just kind of support Penix a little bit. But I'm expecting Bijan to have a really big game. Carolina shut down James Conner surprisingly last week, but I think Bijan's going to have one heck of a game this week. I'm projecting. This is kind of stepping on my bet of the week, but I can see Bijan, getting multiple touchdowns in this game, whether it's 2 rushing, maybe 1 rushing, 1 receiving. But I'm predicting that Bijan is going to get multiple touchdowns against this Carolina defense. The way that Carolina could possibly win this game is Bryce Young outthrowing Michael Penix. He has Ted McMillan. He's got Hunter Renfrow, who has been a really big part in this offense. Chuba Hubbard is going to have to pound the ground real hard. This Atlanta defense has surprisingly been really good. They shut down Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason last week. So we'll see if they can handle Chuba Hubbard, who I think is a better running back than both of those guys. So that's how Carolina is going to win, is by outthrowing and outrunning Atlanta. It's tough with Bijan there, but this defense in Carolina is not going to win them the game. They're going to win this game by throwing the ball downfield and making big plays with Tech McMillan and Hunter Renfrow there. But I do have Atlanta winning this game. It's tough to pick Carolina, by the way the track record is right now. So I am going with Michael Penix and the Falcons on Sunday afternoon. The next matchup, we have Green Bay Packers heading over to Cleveland to take on Joe Flacco and the Browns. Green Bay, not surprised, are 79% win favorites over the Cleveland Browns. I'm predicting this is going to be just a massacre. I know the Browns defense is pretty solid with Myles Garrett, but Jordan Love seems to be able to make magic happen. Josh Jacobs is a really good running back. He's going to pound the ground with this defense. I think Jaden Reed missing out on this game isn't a huge loss for the Packers because Jordan Love still has targets. He's got Tucker Kraft. Hopefully Matthew Golden gets some more opportunities to to kind of show what he can bring to the table. Donovan Wicks. I think Romeo Dobbs in this game will be the number one target, followed by Tucker Kraft. But we'll see how those weapons kind of shake out with Jordan Love. The way the Browns could possibly win this game is with their defense. If Myles Garrett can get pressure on Jordan Love, sack him a few times, stop the big play potential. Cleveland is not going to win this game with their offense. Joe Flacco seems to be slipping a little bit. He can only do so much with the weapons. Maybe Judkins gets moving. But this Green Bay Packers defense is basically number one in the league right now. So this is not a good matchup for the Browns. So I am taking the Green Bay Packers to defeat the Cleveland Browns this Sunday. Heading over to Jacksonville, we've got the Houston Texans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looks like this is a pretty 50-50 split. I think Jacksonville is slightly favored by a couple percentages here. Stroud seemed to look a lot better against the Bucs this last Monday. So I wouldn't be surprised. This was a tough one for me, just because it's a couple of offenses with a lot of question marks around it. I know the biggest topic has been where the heck has Brian Thomas been, but I think they've he either pissed off somebody on the Jaguars organization, or he just is still, that wrist injury is worse than we think it is, because Travis Hunter has been getting involved. Bretton Strange, the tight end, has been like Lawrence's main target on a lot of plays. Diami Brown is getting mixed in there too. So that has me wondering if that wrist injury is a lot worse than what we initially thought, to where Brian Thomas is just not a factor in the offense right now. I'm hoping, just for my fantasy team's sake, that he does get more involved and he gets to bounce back in this game. But I can see Houston winning this game for sure. This is a tough one. I did end up taking the Jaguars in this one, just because that offensive line for Stroud is crumbling a lot around him, and it's tough to have any faith in the Texans offense right now unless they address these offensive line issues. So I'm taking Trevor Lawrence to defeat the Texans at home on Sunday. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, I will be at this game, so I'm very, very excited. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow will not be playing. They will be starting Jake Browning once more. I think this is kind of a 50-50 game too. Looks like Minnesota is 60% favorites in this game right now, with Carson Wentz and Jake Browning. I never thought we'd be here, but here we are with a Carson Wentz Jake Browning matchup, Week 3 in the 2025 season. Aaron Jones has also been ruled out, so Jordan Mason will get the workload against this very horrendous Cincinnati Bengal defense. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, fire those guys up in your fantasy teams, because I think Carson Wentz is going to be targeting them a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of passing in this game, just to kind of stretch Carson Wentz's wings out a bit. In the shorter yardages, they'll probably run Jordan Mason into the ground. But I would expect a lot of Carson Wentz passing here. It's going to be this is going to be a test for Jake Browning and this offense is this Minnesota defense. They held Atlanta to a bunch of field goals, but it still wasn't enough to get them going. But I could see them making it very difficult for Jake Browning. He has Chase and Higgins, of course, to kind of make things happen for him. But this is going to be a really interesting game. I did end up picking the Minnesota Vikings to win. If Joe Burrow was starting this game, I would take the Bengals, just because I trust him more than Carson Wentz. But since it is Jake Browning, I'm having my pick as the Minnesota Vikings to win at home, with Carson Wentz's first start with the Vikings. So that is my pick for that game. Heading over to the other side of the country, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers heading to New England to take on the Patriots. Looks like Pittsburgh is 53% favorites, so this is kind of another 50-50 split game. After the performance against Seattle, this was a tough one for me. But I did end up going with the Pittsburgh Steelers just because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to bounce back. He's going to target DK Metcalf a lot. Jalen Warren seems to be a top running back in the league right now, getting opportunities in the receiving game. The way New England will win is with stopping those big plays from Aaron Rodgers. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been kind of underwhelming this year. So if Drake May can just pick apart this defense, I think this could be a very low scoring game. But I am predicting that Pittsburgh will end up winning just because Aaron Rodgers will get those big plays off of that Patriots defense. Heading over to Philly, we got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Los Angeles Rams. They are in Philly in this game. Philly is 62% favorites in this game, and I went with the Eagles. The Eagles are off to a hot start with 2-0. The Rams are at 2-0. I believe this is the only 2-0 game. Let me take a peek here at the schedule. Yeah, it looks like this is the only... Nope, there is one other game coming up. So this is one of two 2-0 games on the schedule this week. Very exciting. Stafford looks to be staying healthy. He's targeting Puka a lot. Devontae Adams is mixed in. Kyron Williams surprisingly kind of disappeared last week. So I wonder if they're going to be able to get him going with this Philadelphia Eagles off defense. The biggest storyline going into this matchup is A.J. Brown going to get involved at all? Is Devontae Smith going to... Devontae Smith had some big plays last week. He had that huge catch where he landed on his back. Fortunately, it was incomplete, but he is getting targeted. But that would be the biggest storyline this week is A.J. Brown going to get involved in his offense at all? Because it's all been Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley so far. So I think they need A.J. Brown in this game if they're going to win. That Rams defense is pretty solid. They're going to try to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. So he's going to have to bomb that football out to Devontae and A.J. Brown. But I did pick the Philadelphia Eagles in this game to win at home. Just because I trust that offense more than the Rams as well as the defense as well too. Eagles still have a top-notch defense. But this is going to be a really good game. I can see this game being a high-scoring game if A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith do get targets and catches in here. On the opposite end, we've got the New York Jets heading over to Tampa Bay to take on Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Looks like Tampa Bay is 74% favorites. No surprise there because Tyrod Taylor will be getting the start for the Jets with Justin Fields being ruled out. This should be a pretty comfortable game for Baker Mayfield. They had a little bit of a tougher game Monday night against the Texans. But I think them at home against Tyrod Taylor, I think they should have a pretty decent win. So I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would even pick Tampa even if Justin Fields is playing because I just trust him more than Justin Fields. Definitely trust Baker Mayfield more than Tyrod Taylor. So I am picking the Bucs to win at home against the Jets. A couple more games in the noon slate. We've got the Indianapolis Colts headed to Tennessee to take on Cam Ward and the Titans. The Titans looking to win their first game of the year. Looks like Colts are pretty heavy favorites in here. They're at 63% win probability. I'm picking the Colts. I'm kind of riding that Colts train right now until Daniel Jones falls off a cliff, which it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. Jonathan Taylor is going to get a lot of opportunities. I think Daniel Jones is going to pick apart this Titans defense. Cam Ward, I think, is going to have a pretty difficult time here at home. The Colts defense looks pretty solid and legit, so they're gonna make it very difficult for the rookie and put a lot of pressure on him. The way that the Titans would be able to win this game is one, Cam Ward is able to ball out against this Colts defense and find any weaknesses that he can, or the defense shuts down Daniel Jones for the first time this year, and it ends up being a low-scoring game, and the Titans squeak out a win at the end. But I have the Colts winning this game pretty comfortably against the Titans. The final game in the noon slate, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders going into Washington to take on potentially Dayton Daniels. It could be Marcus Mariota. Geno Smith having a rough time in Las Vegas. They're sitting at 1-1. Both teams are 1-1, but Geno struggled a lot on Monday night against the Chargers. We'll see if he can bounce back here against Washington's defense. Washington, as of right now, is 63% win favorites. I'm assuming that's going to change drastically if Jaden Daniels is ruled out. So as of right now, I'm going to go as if Daniels is playing. I'm picking Washington to win this game. If it is Marcus Mariota, confirmed, I would take the Raiders just because I trust Geno Smith more than Mariota. But as of right now, Jaden Daniels is playing in Week 3, so I'm going to treat it as that, and I'm going to take Washington to win at home against the Raiders. Moving into the 3 o'clock slate, we've got 4 games this week. Denver Broncos taking on division rivals Los Angeles Chargers. Looks like the Chargers are slight favorites in this game. No surprise there with the Broncos getting beat out by the Colts. I think if the Broncos would have won last week, this would be a 50-50 split in the win probability column. But since the Chargers were able to defeat the Raiders and the Broncos lost, that's kind of where they get that slight edge. At least that's how my brain looks at it. I am going to be a homer. I'm going to take Denver to bounce back from that loss from the Colts and take down the division rivals in the Chargers. I trust the Denver defense more than I do the Chargers defense. Bo Nix is legit. I think he'll bounce back against this Chargers defense. This could be a high-scoring game with the caliber that there is with these two offenses. Keenan Allen is very involved with this offense. Ladd McConkey still making a name for himself. Hopefully Cortland Sutton gets more involved. But right now it seems like Troy Franklin is the dude for Bo Nix. J.K. Dobbins should have a really big game. Omari Hampton might be in for a disappointing stat line with that Denver defense. But there is a potential that this could be a high-scoring game with these potent offenses. So I'm very excited for this game. I'm going to pick the Broncos, though. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to stick with my boy Bo Nix, and I'm going to pick the Denver to win on the road in Los Angeles. Heading up north a little bit, we've got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle sitting at 1-1. New Orleans looking to win their first game. Seattle is favored at 77% win probability. Darnold looks like he's becoming more comfortable in this system. Jackson Smith-Njigba seems to be his dude. Cooper Kupp not really involved. I know a big storyline with the Seahawks right now is what is Kenneth Walker's role in this offense? It seems like Charbonnet is outpacing him, out-snapping him. There is a chance that Charbonnet takes over that leading role from Walker. I don't know if he's injured or if he's just not as efficient as Charbonnet. Me personally, I think Charbonnet is the better back. But I know Kenneth Walker is the veteran on this squad, so of course he's going to get, the RB1 duties first, unless the coach sees otherwise. But I'm taking Seattle. There is a possibility that the Saints squeak out a win here, just because Seattle's defense is good, but Sam Darnold gets kind of risky sometimes with how he plays. But I certainly trust Sam Darnold more than I do Spencer Rattler. So that's why I'm going with Seattle. That defense should be making it very, very difficult for Spencer Rattler. All those Alvin Kamara fantasy managers are shaking because they don't see Kamara getting a lot of opportunities in this game with that Seattle defense. This could either be a low-scoring game or it's going to be a massacre on the Seattle side. But I am taking Sam Darnold and the Seahawks to win at home this week against the Saints. Dallas Cowboys taking on the Chicago Bears. Chicago is at home. Looks like this is pretty much a 50-50 split. No surprise by how these two teams have been playing this year. Dallas is slight favorites at 51%. Chicago at 49%. This is really a coin toss. I had a tough one here. both defenses are pretty horrendous. Both offenses are trying to find their identity. But I trust Dak Prescott more than I do Caleb Williams, so that's why I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to win on the road in this game. Dak should be able to pick apart this defense with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Javonte Williams should have a pretty decent stat line against the Bears defense. The way that Chicago wins this game, though, is if they can put pressure on Dak, cause him to create turnovers or just kind of shake him up in the pocket. And Caleb Williams is going to have to be on point. He's going to have to get everybody involved, similar to the A.J. Brown storyline with Philly. DJ Moore hasn't really been a factor in the season so far. It's all been Roma Dunze and Cole Kmet. So Caleb is going to have to be on point. He's going to have to make those big plays. He's going to have to connect with his weapons if they are going to win this game. But I do have Dallas winning this game. This could potentially be a very low-scoring game. It could come down to another Brandon Aubrey kick, which I wouldn't be surprised. So Dallas for the win. The final game in the 3 o'clock window is the Arizona Cardinals taking on division rival San Francisco 49ers. Looks like San Francisco is slight favorites with Mac Jones at the start. But I do have Arizona taking the win on the road this week against Mac Jones. I like what I see from Kyler Murray. He's starting to get Marvin Harrison more involved. James Conner is the heart and soul of this team. Trey McBride is the number one target for Kyler in this offense. And the Arizona defense looked really good last week. I know they were facing, Bryce Young and the Panthers, but who's to say they don't cause pressure to Mac Jones and kind of shut down that run game? The Niners with Christian McCaffrey does scare me on this pick because McCaffrey could run for 200 yards and multiple touchdowns. But I think Arizona could probably squeak out a win here with the division rival. So I'm going to take the chance on Kyler, and I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals on the road. Sunday Night Football, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New York Football Giants. Chiefs are pretty heavy favorites at 72%. If the Chiefs, like I said at the top of the episode, lose this game, I'm firing up the red alert signals because this is a game that they should dominate and they should win pretty easily on the road. The way the Giants could possibly win this game is to shut down Mahomes, create pressure, cause him to make mistakes, or Russell Wilson does what he did last week in Dallas and just start firing off these big plays against Spagnuolo's defense. But I think the Chiefs will bounce back. They're going to shut down the old 0-2 crap, and they're going to win their first game Sunday Night Football against the Giants. So I think it's going to be pretty big slaughterhouse for the Chiefs. They're going to try to make a statement here and win this game. And then finally, the Monday night game is the Detroit Lions going up against the Baltimore Ravens. This is my game of the week. This is the matchup that I'm looking most forward to. Very, very potent offenses, defenses that have been pretty solid. They're at 1-1 each. So the winner of this game will be. I mean, this is a possible Super Bowl preview with Jared Goff coming off of that massive showing against the Bears. Derrick Henry, maybe he kind of disappeared last week. Maybe he gets more involved, hopefully, this week with Lamar, slinging it to Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews seems to be pretty quiet, so maybe he comes in with, 60 yards and a touchdown in this game. But this could potentially be a high-scoring game with how potent these offenses are. I am picking the Baltimore Ravens, though, in this game. I think Lamar is looking to prove something on Monday night at home. Like, hey, I am the MVP caliber weapon. But yeah, this could easily be, a 40 to 44 point game. It should be pretty exciting on Monday night. So that is my game of the week, and I am picking the Baltimore Ravens to win at home on Monday night. So those are my game picks. Looking at last week, I forgot to mention it. I did have a slight dip in my picks last week. I I went 12 for 16. I got the Commanders wrong against the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota, unfortunately, got that one wrong against Atlanta. My boys, the Denver Broncos, came up short with the Colts. And then the Steelers really underperformed against the Seattle Seahawks, so I got that one wrong. I'll be looking to bounce back and hopefully getting my first perfect picks right. But lately it looks like I've been getting one or two wrong. But we're going to shoot for 100% this week in week 3. So those are my game picks. Let's end the show with a massive bet in Show Me the Money. So last week I came up short once again, so I am 0-2 on bets this year so far. So we'll run through last week's bet and what I missed, and then we'll go through this week's massive bet that I hopefully bounce back and win big money on in week 3. So last week I bet on the over on Jaden Daniels' passing yards. That was a free pick last week at 0.5 passing yards, so I hit on that one, of course. I also hit on the Jamar Chase receiving yards. He ended up with 165 yards in receiving. That line was only at 84.5, and I knew he was going to get over 100 yards, so that was an easy pick for me. I did, however, miss on the Tua line. I went the under on his yardage, but then, of course, naturally, Tua's like, oh, people are betting the under on me, so I got to go throw for 300 yards. So I missed on that one. I did get the Travis Hunter one right by taking the under on 51.5. When that news broke out that he was going to spend more on defense, I was like, perfect opportunity to bet on the under on him. I think he's going to be utilized more in the defense than he is on the offense. Hopefully, Brian Thomas will just kind of go back to his role as the number one target in that offense, and Travis Hunter will just be more on the defense side. I also missed on James Conner's line, which was unfortunate because with the matchup, I thought this was a dead given. But he did not hit his line at 59.5, so I busted on that one. But I did get the J.J. McCarthy rushing yards correct. His line was at 18.5, and I knew he was going to get at least 20. So I missed 2 on that parlay once again. Let me pull up this week's bets. And this is a pretty massive one. I haven't done one this big in a while, and I figured since I'm 0-2, why not swing for the fences with this one? This is going to be another $5 bet, but this time it'll be for $1,005.95. So pretty massive stakes that they need to hit, but it's only $5, so I figured why not just lay $5 on it. It's very, very unlikely that I'm going to get this, but if I do, it'd be pretty amazing, and this would probably make my season. So this parlay goes like this. On Sleeper, they do these multiplier boosts now, so I thought why not take advantage of one. So I'm going with the over on Josh Allen's passing yards. His line is currently at 227.5 passing yards. This could be a 300-yard game for him against Miami. So I'm going to take the over on that. I kind of teased this already, but Bijan Robinson, I'm going with not just 1, but 2. I'm going that he at least does 2 anytime touchdowns. So we're going to go with that. Tyler Warren, I'm taking the over on his receiving yards. That's only at 42.5. He's been the main target for Daniel Jones, so he could easily get 50 yards in this game against Tennessee. I am betting that Adam Thielen will get an anytime touchdown at home against Cincinnati. And then Joe Flacco, I'm taking the under. This is my under of the week. The under on his passing yards against the Green Bay Packers. His line is at 224.5 passing yards. I'm going to take the under on there. I think Green Bay is going to make it very, very difficult for him to throw, so I'm going to take the under. And then finally, I am taking the over and betting that Patrick Mahomes gets another rushing touchdown. This one's pretty unlikely that it'll happen just because he's already done it 2 weeks in a row, but why not make it a three-peat? He's always talking about three-peats. Let's see if he can three-peat on rushing yards in each of the first 3 games of the year. So that is my parlay. I will post that on social media as well as all my game picks for the week. So let's see if I can hit $1,000 on this $5 bet. So that'll do it for the show this week. Like I said, you can watch the show every week at youtube.com/the Endzone Report. You can also listen to the audio version on Spotify. Both episodes will drop on those platforms at the same time. And then, yeah, follow the show, support the show. It helps out a lot. It helps it grow if you go and follow it on social media. And let me know what your guys' game picks are and what you're looking forward to in week 3. So we will see you all at the end of week 3 and kind of go over through the chaos that happens and then preview week 4 as well. So later, guys. Have a fun week of football.